We're going to install a plug-and-play remote starting system that activates from the OEM remote on a 2020 Honda HR-V. We're going to start by removing the side cover panel. We're going to be using a couple plastic tools to create a gap and remove this panel. We're going to start by using the first plastic tool to create a small gap to get the second plastic tool in. Using the first plastic tool, we're going to pull back on the side panel. We're going to now insert the second tool, and the clips will release as we go up. They're very tight. And there's one more at the very top. Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove this door gasket. More room. And we're going to pop the top and the bottom clips out. These stubborn little clips here. Hard to see. At this point, we're going to go ahead and we're going to apply outward pressure. We can use our plastic tool to help. If we get a little stuck here, just going to go ahead and use our plastic tool. With all the clips removed, we have a couple plugs over here. We're going to go ahead and we're going to unplug. Each of the plugs have release clips. We're going to press the clip and remove the plugs. There's another clip here holding this onto this post. I'm going to go ahead and just slide that back and remove that clip also. We're going to remove the steering column cover plastic. We're going to remove a single screw from the bottom center. It's a Phillips screw. We're going to turn the ignition to the run position. We're going to turn the wheel this way. It's going to reveal a gap right here that we can insert our plastic tool into. This is where you will put the tool and apply upward pressure. We're going to do this on the opposite side also. Now we can go ahead and we can remove the top cover. This will expose a Phillips screw here and on the opposite side. We're going to remove both of these screws. We're going to remove our first Phillips screw. Turn the wheel to the opposite side. We're going to remove the second Phillips screw. We're going to return the wheel to the center, shut the key off, remove it from the ignition. We'll now be able to remove the lower portion of the steering column cover plastic. We're going to be working with two plugs, the ignition plug to the vehicle and the immobilizer plug to the vehicle. We're going to start by unplugging the ignition plug. If you look closely, there's a small release clip right here. We're going to push the clip in while we pull out on this plunger. This will unplug the plug. So we push directly in and we pull out on the plunger gently to be able to remove the plug. We're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the immobilizer plug. I'm going to push in on the clip straight up and pull back to unplug the immobilizer plug of the vehicle. We're now going to install our ignition T-harness. We're going to start by releasing the clip, pushing the release clip in, pulling the plunger out. We'll go ahead and we'll put the plug in place. With the plug in place, we'll go ahead and we'll push down on the plunger to draw the plug in. So we're pushing in here. We've got it past the clip here. I'm going to show you. So we want to push it in to get it past here. It's not going to push, the plunger's not going to go in. And then once we're past there, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to push it in, and we're going to make sure it locks in. Now we're going to plug the ignition plug we removed into the other side of the T-harness. Going to go ahead and we're going to push the clip in and lock the plug in place. Now we're going to install the immobilizer harness. We're going to plug our immobilizer plug into the vehicle's immobilizer port that we removed the gray plug from. Going to make sure the plug securely locks. Going to plug the immobilizer plug that we removed from the immobilizer plug originally into the other side of our T-harness. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next step. The ignition plug harness has a ground ring that must be grounded to bare metal. None of the bolts with plastic involved are suitable. Plastic involved with that. Anywhere there's plastic, got to be metal on metal, no plastic. I'm going to show you a spot you can use. It's over here, right here. I'm going to go ahead and show you. So we're looking in the spot that I pointed to in the last video clip. We're going to remove this 10 millimeter. Be careful not to drop it under here. Going to go ahead and remove the 10 millimeter. And we're going to ground our unit. We're going to start the module pairing process. The pairing process is done in 2 steps. First, we're going to sample the vehicle's data, and then we're going to connect our module to the computer using our Flashlink interface, and we're going to send the data that we sampled from the vehicle to the Fortin server for decryption. We're going to get started with the first part of the pairing procedure. We're going to locate the program button on the module. We're going to hold the program button while we insert the main power plug. When we insert the power plug, the lights will begin to cycle. We're going to want to release when both the blue and the red lights are lit. If we make a mistake and release on a different color, we can unplug the harness and start over. The lights will turn on in the sequence you've seen while I'm holding the button. As long as I hold the button, the lights will keep cycling through that sequence. Releasing the button is what will make the lights stay on the desired colors, which are blue and red. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to hold the button down. We're going to keep it down until we see the blue and the red LED both lit. Release the button. Now we're going to be very conscious not to touch this button again while we plug in the 20-pin plug from our immobilizer harness. And then we're going to have a white and a red plug, which we're going to plug into the corresponding ports on the top of the device. At this point, we're going to press and release the program button 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Our lights are going to alternate from 2 flashes and a pause, 2 flash and a pause. We're going to place the key to the vehicle in the ignition. We're not going to start the vehicle. We're going to turn the vehicle to the run position. Do this, the yellow light will flash rapidly, it will go off, the blue light will come back on and flash rapidly. We're now going to shut the key off and remove it from the ignition. At this point, the yellow and the red light will alternate, letting us know that it's time to run the decryptor process. To download the Flashlink Manager program, go to Fortin's website, www.ifar.ca. You're going to select the Support tab. You're going to select the Flashlink Manager. You're going to select Download Now. You'll have to agree to the end user license. You will be prompted to download the Flashlink Manager setup. Once you do that, you're going to go ahead and you're going to open the Flashlink Manager setup. Follow the prompts to install the program. When you do this, you're going to need a Windows 10 computer. When you open the program, you're going to see a login screen. You'll have to click Create an Account, and you will go in and you'll fill out a form. You'll create the account. There's two things on the form that are a little bit confusing. It'll ask you for a website and a business name. You can put any website and any business name in. You just have to have something in the blank. So it's www.whatever.com and a business name. Without these two things, the form will not submit. So once you submit the form, they're going to send you a confirmation email. A lot of times it goes into a spam folder. So if you don't get this email, look in your spam folder, and you have to respond to the email before you can use the credentials that you set up to log in. So if you have issues logging in, you have to follow the steps. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log in. Okay, so I've logged in, and I have not plugged in the Flashlink programmer as of yet. This is the screen we want to see. This is telling us that the PC is unable to detect the updater. So now we're going to plug in the updater. So this is going to let us know if it's going to be recognized so we can use the program. So when we plug in the loader, we're going to wait a few seconds here. The screen should change, and it should now indicate that we don't have a module. This means that it's seen the programmer, and now it's looking for a module. So at this point, we're going to plug in the module that we're going to decrypt. There's a 4-pin port, a black port, up on the top. We're going to go ahead and we're going to plug into the 4-pin port. We're going to wait for the module to be inspected. Okay, now here's another pitfall that I'm going to show you how to avoid. This is what's called wizard mode. Wizard mode is generally used to set up the device for the first time. We've already set up the device and we flashed it so that you can just run the decryptor. You don't have to start from the beginning and select the vehicle and everything. So we've already selected the vehicle. The vehicle doesn't have to match. It just has to use the same firmware. So if you see up here, it's showing the vehicle that we selected. So if that was a year or two off, it's not going to matter as long as it uses the same firmware. So to get out of wizard mode, what we want to do is we want to click on the gear cog icon for settings right here. This is going to bring up a screen that will allow us to go to Pro mode. In Pro mode, we can do operations without configuring the device for the first time. So we're going to wait until the Pro mode screen opens. Okay, so now at this point, you'll see the vehicle that's selected. You'll see that we have the settings that are locked here. So we want to leave everything alone. You don't want to change what I've already done because you'll be going back in time and you will digress in your installation instead of progressing. So we're going to click the Decryptor tab. This is going to bring us to this screen. We're going to send the data. We're going to wait. The Dcryptor process is going to run. It can take a few minutes. It can take a few seconds. So we're going to wait and let the process run undisturbed. So the unit is now being updated by the Flashlink programmer. We're going to wait until the process completes. When it completes, we will get a screen that will tell us that the process has been completed and that we can bring the module back to the vehicle and install it. The process is complete. We're going to disconnect the module and bring it to the vehicle. We're back in the vehicle. We're going to connect our module. This time we're not going to hold any buttons. We're just going to plug in the plugs. We're going to start with the main power plug. We're going to then plug in the 20-pin plug adjacent to the main power plug. And on the top of the device, we're going to plug the red and the white plugs in. We're going to make sure that if we have the automatic transmission loop, we're now going to cut the loop. We're outside of our vehicle. We're going to trigger remote starting using the key fob. Going to lock the doors 3 times. On the second and third press, we will get a horn honk confirmation. This is due to the fact that we're locking the vehicle multiple times. So we have not connected the parking light connection. The lighting around the headlights is illuminating. I'm going to show you this optional connection later in the video. We're going to turn the engine off. Going to press 3 times. The engine is going to shut down. If the horn honk on the second and third press is unacceptable and you would like to activate this device silently, we can change the activation sequence from lock, lock, lock to lock, unlock, lock. I'm going to show you how to do that. To change the activation sequence to lock, unlock, lock, we're going to go back to the computer with our device. We're going to unplug it from the vehicle. If you're doing this in the vehicle with a laptop, you want to unplug the power to the module. You can't flash or make changes with the power connected. So we've got it plugged into the programmer. The Flashlink manager is inspecting the device. We're going to come up with this screen right here. Now, we want to make sure we're still in Pro mode. If we're not, we're going to click the gear cog setting and select Go to Pro mode. So when we get to this screen, we're going to want to select Remote Starter. Once we're at the Remote Starter screen, we're going to scroll down to the bottom. We're going to get to option group 38. When we get here, we're going to select the arrow. It's going to bring us some options. 3 lock is 38.2. That's what the module is set for. We want to do lock, unlock, lock, which is 38.5. So we'll select 38.5 and we'll click Save. We're going to watch up here and we're going to verify the save by watching this say option saved. So now we're going to unplug the module, reinstall it in the vehicle, and we will be able to activate silently. So we're back in the vehicle. We're going to reconnect the module. We're not going to hold any buttons as we do not want to start the programming procedure again. Now we can activate the remote starter using the lock, unlock, lock sequence. We're outside of our vehicle. We're going to activate remote starting silently. We're going to press lock, unlock, lock. This will trigger remote starting silently. We can turn off the remotely started vehicle by repeating the lock, unlock, lock sequence. There are two optional connections. First one is the parking light connection located on this plug right here. I'm going to go ahead and unplug the plug. We look at it from the back with the clip in the upright position. Our target wire is this gray wire located right here. Second pin in on the bottom, right next to the white, between the white and the green, looking at this gray wire. Do not confuse it for the other gray wire on the other end of the plug. So this is our parking light negative trigger wire. If we're going to connect the parking lights, this is where we're going to do it. To use the posi-tap connector, we're going to unscrew the bottom portion of the posi-tap. It's going to give us a piece with a groove in it. We're going to also have a piece with a needle. We're going to place the groove over the target wire. We're then going to screw the tap back together. We want to make sure we do not cross thread it. The pin will pierce the wire. At this point we'll loosen the collar on the opposite end about one turn, and we'll use our pink parking light wire, the top of our harness. We're going to remove about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch of the insulation on the wire, exposing the bare wire. We're now going to insert this wire into the collar portion of the tap. It's going to bottom out. We're going to feel it bottom out. We're going to push it in harder so the wire goes in deeper. We're now going to tighten the collar and give it a pull test. This is our parking light activation connection. We would now plug the plug back in. There's another optional connection, but it's usually only used if you're adding an RF antenna kit that has a panic feature. It is located at the horn plug right here. We're going to go ahead and honk the horn. Now we're going to pull the horn plug, and we're going to press the horn activation again, and it's not going to honk because we have it unplugged. This confirms that we're on the right plug. So if we look at this plug from the back, there is a purple wire second pin in from this side. So I'm going to show you that wire up close. So this is the wire we're going to use for the horn if you are connecting the horn. Our device is compatible with several RF antenna kits listed on the WarmCarNow website. It's also compatible with the MyCar smartphone controller. So everything here in our RF antenna kit category is compatible if you're interested in extending the range of your device. This job we're going to add the RFK411 remotes. We're going to add the Fortin RFK411 remotes, single button remote that's capable of locking, unlocking, and starting. The first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to check the status of the LED right here on the module. So if the doors are locked, this LED will be blinking. This is an armed or locked condition. The module will not accept programming of an RF antenna kit. We're going to go ahead and we're going to unlock the vehicle with the OEM remote prior to attempting to pair the RFK411 or any RF antenna kit or smartphone controller. So we're going to plug our RF antenna kit antenna into the blue 4-pin plug right next to our white plug. Okay, when we do this, the antenna is going to be fully connected. There are no other wires to connect. It's one plug connection. Now we're going to need to have the 411 remotes accessible, and we're going to need the key to the vehicle. We're going to use the valet switch that plugs into the control module on the 2-pin plug to pair our RFK411 antenna kit. We're going to start by placing the key in the ignition and turning the ignition to the run position. We're going to immediately press and hold the button down until the red light inside the device begins flashing. We're going to release the button. Now we're going to press and release 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to press and release the brake pedal. Now we're going to take the first remote. And we also have our light blinking rapidly on our antenna kit. We're going to press and hold the button down on the single button remote. We're going to keep the button down. The blue LED light's going to turn off. We're going to still have the button held down. When the light comes back on, we're going to release. And if you watch, the Evo will accept the remote. So we're going to do the second one. Watch right in here, the red light, when we release the button. Okay, so the light's out. We still got the button down. Light comes back on, we release. The Evo accepts the remote. We can now shut the key off, remove it from the ignition. From this point forward, we can use the RFK411 to lock, unlock, and start the vehicle. I'm going to show you how to install the antenna. We're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the protective cover from the adhesive tape. We're going to go ahead and we're going to place the antenna up on the windshield, about 1 inch down. I'm doing it right over the mirror. I will show you when I'm done. We're going to put the wire underneath the headliner. In order to do this, we don't want to pull on the headliner really hard. That will cause damage. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do it gently. Just going to pull down a little bit while we feed the wire up in. Sometimes if you've had your windshield changed, this can be glued and you won't have access to get in here. When they put in your new windshield, there's a lot of glue and it glues the headliner right to the windshield as well. So now we're going to use our plastic tool. We're going to create a small gap to get our wire into. Once we have our wire in the gap, we're going to use the plastic tool I'm going to remove the gasket and we're going to run the wire in the channel here where the gasket goes all the way down the A-pillar until we're underneath the dash. And then we're going to plug it back into the control module. So we're outside of the vehicle. The doors are locked. You can see the LED on the antenna blinking. We're going to unlock the doors. Press twice, the doors will unlock. You have the parking lights involved here. One time, we'll lock the doors. Pressing and releasing 2 times will unlock the doors. We're going to go ahead and we're going to trigger remote start. We're outside the vehicle with our RFK411. We're going to lock the doors by pressing the button 1 time. This will lock the doors. We're going to unlock the doors by pressing twice. And this will unlock all of the doors to the vehicle. Now we're going to start the vehicle by pressing and holding the button for 3 seconds. This will trigger remote starting silently. And we can also shut the engine off by pressing and holding. Now remember, no matter what controller we add, we always retain the ability to start the engine with the OEM remote. Stowing the unit and cable management can be challenging when reassembling the vehicle using these plug-and-play systems. The first thing is you have to get the steering column cover plastic to fit back on, and with those big plugs under it, it can be challenging. Okay, so just to give you an example of my cable routing so that I can get this vehicle to reassemble, it can be challenging to, get all these plugs managed. So we have the plug, main ignition plug routed over here, zipped up here. Come around this side with my ignition harness wire. I want to watch out. We don't want the back of this screw driving up into this, so if you do this, you want to secure this up high. Now I've routed the wires down here. I had to fold them to take some of the slack out because they're really long. And the unit's going to wind up, I'm trying to give you a good shot of it here. Okay. So let me see here. Let me get under here with this. So my unit's right here. Zipped up. I haven't cut the zip off. I used a long 14-inch zip and went around. The harness is up in the back right here. This is nice and out of the way, so you can see my routing. Okay. Couple tips on reassembly. I like to put the bottom cover on first and make sure that it fits without any pressure expanding the cover. If there's any pressure, it's not going to work. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So I've got the bottom cover on. You have to make sure that this is fitting under here. There's actually a little piece of plastic that slides underneath when you put it under here. So your ignition should look like this. It shouldn't have a gap around or not fit clean. If this part does not fit on, then the top is not going to go on and snap, and you can have interference with the directional levers or whatever this lever is and the lever on the other side if this cover isn't on right. On the other side, your high beams won't work because, I'll show you, the portion of this is out too far. So if you look, there's a little piece of plastic in here, has to slide up under this clip on both sides. If it doesn't go under that clip, this is going to be obstructed when you try to turn the high beams on. So dry fit the column cover plastic before you reassemble, and make sure that you have this on right where it's back here so there'll be no obstruction. As long as this cover fits smoothly, you shouldn't have no problem snapping the top on. So I put the bottom cover on, and I will put the single screw in the bottom and then reassemble the top.